Welcome back to Bill's Ramblings and Another Story. This story is going to take place in and around 1990 in Glendale, Arizona. On this particular story, Cindy and I were out horseback riding, and we like to do that every chance we could get. And we were just out riding around, let me see, somewhere around 79th Avenue or 80th Avenue, and just south of Glendale there was a big open field out there, and I'm sure it's all full of houses now, but at the time it was just a great big open field with nothing going on in it. And so Cindy and I got somebody to watch the boys. They were still pretty young, and we saddled up our horses where we had them at my mom's place over on Griffin Avenue and 75th. And we went out on a nice leisurely ride in the afternoon and towards the evening. And I was riding Lady, an Appaloosa mare that we had, and I originally bought her in New Mexico, up in Albuquerque, and she had come off the racetrack. She was a really tall, thoroughbred looking, almost a leopard Appaloosa. She wasn't a whole lot of pretty to look at, but she had a lot of color. And well, the one thing about Lady is that she liked to run. She would run, and she would run fast. She didn't necessarily turn very well, but she did like to run. And so I was riding Lady at this particular time, and Cindy was riding Bonnie. Her official name was Bonnie Mac, and she was a solid Appaloosa, which means that although she was a full-blooded Appaloosa, she had 0 spots. She was a dark bay with a black mane and tail, and she was a beautiful horse both to look at, and she was also a beautiful horse to ride. And so on this particular day, that's the horse that Cindy was riding, and we had gone out there and we were riding along, and you know, uh, uh, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this rabbit, a jackrabbit specifically, jumped up out from underneath of a bush. And man, I just slapped the spurs to Lady and said, "Let's go!" And we started chasing that jackrabbit. And Cindy was right with me, and we were hooping and hollering, and you know, just yelling and having a good time. And that jackrabbit would turn right, and he'd turn left, and we were going. And I mean, those horses were running, and there was screaming and lots of great stuff. And I was over there, and I was like, I was on this racehorse, and we were just getting after it, going, and this horse was running and doing this, and I heard Cindy screaming over there, and I turned around to look at her like this and say, "Hey, what do you think?" And I looked over to my right, and Cindy's horse was there, but Cindy wasn't there. Now, I'm not saying that she was gone. I mean, she all I could see was her foot. The saddle was gone, and Cindy was gone, and I got to looking, and of course we're still going 9-0 down the road, or through the woods or trees and bushes, and chasing these rabbits. And as we're doing this at 100 miles an hour, and I'm looking over there, and Cindy's screaming, and I got to thinking, maybe that screaming's not that she's having fun. Maybe that screaming's that she's not having fun. And I kind of started, whoa, slow down, horse, slow down. And I noticed that Cindy's left foot still in the stirrup, sticking straight up in the air, and she had her right hand hanging onto Bonnie's mane. And so I reached over and grabbed Bonnie's reins, and we got both horses stopped. And about the time we got them stopped, and all of a sudden Cindy went plunk right on the ground. I mean, she let go of the horse, and her feet slipped out from her, the stirrups. And well, I'll tell you what, she was not a happy camper. She started yelling at me, "What do you think you're doing?" And I said, "Well, we were chasing a rabbit." And she's like, "Well, I didn't know we were chasing a rabbit. All of a sudden you take off, and Bonnie takes off, and we're going 100 miles an hour, zipping and zagging through these bushes and tumbleweeds and everything." And all of a sudden, here's where the problem started. It wasn't that I took off running for the rabbit. That was fine. She was having a blast. This is where the problem happened. All of a sudden, that rabbit took a hard left turn. I mean, a 90-degree turn. And lady, who generally couldn't even turn a corner if you wanted her to, all of a sudden she just banked that like that, and she took off to the left. Well, even though Bonnie wasn't cutting horse or anything else, but she thoroughly enjoyed chasing rabbits. Occasionally she'd chase a cat too if one jumped up. That's not the case today, so don't get mad. It was a rabbit. I'm telling you, it was a rabbit. It wasn't a stray cat. And all of a sudden, Bonnie does this, and she banks off to the left. Well, I haven't quite figured this out, and I don't know that even Cindy could understand it. But when Bonnie banked left, Cindy decided to go straight. She just decided to keep going straight, so that saddle just went zing right off to the side. And I'll tell you what, that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt what kind of horsewoman that Cindy is, because she was hanging on. She wouldn't let go of that horse or that saddle, and she was actually directly horizontal to the horse and the ground, and still going 9-0 after that rabbit. I tell you what, anybody that could have a wife as good as that, you got something. You got something there. So anyway, back to, Cindy's laying on the ground, and the horses stopped, and she gets up, and she's like, well, what do you think you're doing? And I'm like, well, we're chasing the rabbits. And she's like, well, I didn't know you were getting, and Bonnie took off and I went over to, and all of a sudden I'm hanging on for dear life, and I'm yelling, and you're like, hey, let's go. You didn't even notice that I was about to land off in the dirt. And I said, honey, I stopped just as soon as I realized you weren't having any fun. I thought you were having a blast over there doing some kind of horse tricks or, something like that. And, well, anyway, you can bet, and it's probably true. You could bet that the reason that saddle went zing off to the right when Bonnie went zing off to the left was because it was my fault. And so I was the one who saddled the horses, and I guess I didn't get the air out of Bonnie's lungs, and she had puffed up or something. And when I tightened that cinch down, it just really wasn't quite tight enough. Well, that's how the whole saddle slipped off to the right whenever Bonnie went to the left. And I said to Cindy, and you got to be careful. In these situations, you really got to be careful what it is you're saying. And I said, well, honey, obviously you need to saddle your own horse from now on. Oh, my goodness. I don't guess that was the right thing to say. But anyway, we got the horses all taken care of. The rabbit, unfortunately, the rabbit got away. He got away. He went off and had a good time, I guess, laughing because these horses couldn't keep up with the rabbit. But, well, anyway, we got the saddles all fixed, and we got the saddles all tightened down, and we got to, back in the saddle, and we're heading home. And you know what? We didn't get that far down the road, heading back down towards the barn, and up pops another rabbit. And Cindy yells, nope, don't you dare chase that rabbit. And she pulls up Bonnie short right then, and I'm like, oh man, we could have had 2 for 2. We could have had 2 rabbits in one day. We had to let that one go. And, to have a good relationship with my wife, and so that we didn't get in any more trouble, we had to, so we let the rabbit go. And I told her, don't worry, honey, I wasn't going to chase that rabbit. I didn't have any plans to chase that rabbit. And she just looked at me with that, that look, that one that says, yeah, I know you're lying to me right now, but at least I stopped you from going. And well, we got home, and put the horses away, and she didn't get hurt. There's no way she could have got hurt because she had a death grip on that horse. So I want to thank you for joining us in another trip down memory lane, and a rabbit chase, and Cindy's horse tricks. We'll see you on the next one. Bye now.